All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another exciting episodes of the HHC podcast. I am your host Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brother Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Morning, Jake. You doing all right?
That's good. That's good. Um, it's a little chilly over here at Texas Tech right now. I'm receiving this cold front. I was actually told that it'll be snowing over here soon, so I'm excited for that. How's it going in San
Nice.
Antonio?
It was colder earlier yesterday and the day before. It started to warm up. It's still gloomy though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hoodie on inside.
Hoodie on inside, exactly. Um, Well, we do this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. You can catch us on all four platforms of Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, in which we do go live. You'll be able to, watch the full thing going through. Or if you cannot catch us, you can always watch the VOD on all four platforms as soon as we're done with the podcast. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes at Half Court where we do talk about Spurs basketball pretty much on the daily, and we do talk to the Spurs Twitterverse as much as we can. We do love talking with the community. We love the interaction. So please enjoy conversations on our Twitter. We have some pretty nice stuff to talk about. A good trade happened this last week. We played against Patty and LA, and our in the week against Brooklyn, and we're in the mid-season, so we have some we can start like collecting our thoughts about how good our players have been this year. Um, with that, I think I'll go ahead and start getting right into the recap. We went 1-2 this week, playing against the Phoenix Suns, OKC, and Brooklyn. And in that week, we lost to the Phoenix Suns 121-107, won against OKC 96-118, and lost to the Brooklyn Nets 117-102. Chris, this is always it's always kind of annoying to see a 1-2 week, especially when uh, it felt like we could have split it, especially with Phoenix without DeAndre Ayton in that game. Um, there's just a couple things that happened throughout the week that make it just a little disappointing, and a couple things that for me I did like. But what do you think about the week overall?
I would agree kind of what you said about it being disappointing. We had talked when we did our predictions last week. Feeling like the Suns and the Brooklyn game were the ones. It's like, all right, it's a coin flip, right? So like you said, we've had opportunities to play competitive against good teams all year long. That's not really anything new. What is the rare occasion is when we can kind of put those plays together when we need to and jump over the hill or something like that. So it is disappointing to see the Suns game and the Brooklyn game kind of end in similar fashion. But I mean, uh, it also is something that we've seen more than once this year. So I mean, we keep rolling. I'm trying to hang on to Patty Mills and LA coming back was a good night. The things surrounding the game, I guess. Dejounte Murray continues to put us in a good mood every time we see him play. So, just trying to hang on to those things as we try to learn our lessons.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I think last week I was kind of talking about it like right at the end of the podcast, just saying that like I'm like pushing, like I really like I'm trying to focus to see what Devin Vassell would be doing this week, and it feels just like, I mean, another like on and off week for him,
Yeah.
and it was just like, that both the games that kind of mattered, he's like shooting only hitting 4 shots, 4 for 10 in Phoenix, and I believe 4 for 11 against Brooklyn. But then like he goes 7 for 10 against OKC, and like it's those little things where I'm like, oh man, well, if we had just that little bit more consistency from him, from Lonnie, like just like from the team in general, we're seeing 1 to 2 more shots go down, then it could be a turnaround. Obviously, um, the end of the scores aren't going to necessarily speak that into existence, but like we definitely know while watching the game that if we saw that much more consistency from our guys, it could have turned the games around. We probably wouldn't see um either as close of a, or we probably would have seen a closer loss, or we actually would have been able to see us take a victory. But and sorry, before I I let you get more thoughts about it. I think the biggest thing that just pointed out to me was just seeing Devin Booker go off for 40 against Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not in Phoenix, in San Antonio, right? And I guess that was like another thing that just kind of spoke out to me was like sometimes our defense just like I don't know, it felt like we just let Devin Booker get comfortable, and then when he wanted to just take a tough shot over us, it was just easy for him at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
that's what I meant about like the things that we've the you're talking about we're more a little bit over halfway through the season now, so there are things that we can more confidently say like these are things that we do versus like I've seen us do this a few times, and yeah, and it's allowing their star players to kind of get real comfortable throughout the game, and then express how comfortable they are in the fourth quarter is something that we've seen a lot, even prior to this season. So it is something that we're continuing to try to build, and I do agree. Like it does kind of it's discouraging to see like one guy go for 48 and be able to kind of sway the game. It's kind of like when we saw Eric Gordon beat us the other day with Houston. It's like he didn't score 48, but like you could just feel his ability to impact the game and our inability to kind of stop his momentum. So like that
yeah,
part,
I mean,
it's a little that part is a little discouraging still.
and even if Eric Gordon didn't score the 48, he still pretty much finished the game near perfect from the field.
Yeah.
So it's definitely that kind of stuff. Even like when I look at the stat line right now, like seeing like Bismack Biyombo finish off the game 8 for 10 off the bench for them. Um, it's like that kind of stuff that like yeah, we didn't see JaVale kind of do his regular JaVale things against us,
Hmm.
but Bismack was able to kind of just go in there
Well,
and do what he wanted. 14 boards is also another,
and
you
it
know.
makes sense. I mean, usually it's Jock, uh, sorry, it's Jakob having to take care of Aiton, and because of that, McGee gets has a little bit more free reign. He gets minutes against Drew Eubanks and such and such. So it kind of just shifted. Jakob was really tasked with staying with JaVale most of the night. So I think, but because of that, they were able to kind of slide in Bismack, I mean, right into that McGee spot. So I mean, I don't know how. If it's on our well, I guess it's not really on our rundown for today, but this might be the last opportunity that we get a chance to kind of talk about Thad. The deadline is coming up, so like I just wanted to ask real quick, since Phoenix is kind of on our mind right now. Phoenix has been like one of the only consistent teams that would be brought up when it comes to suitors for Thad. Um, And in my opinion, like, do they even need that now with like this Biombo pickup? You know what I mean? And even beyond that, it's like we've talked about it multiple times this year. I've talked about it even going into last year. The importance of picking up somebody like a Biombo off of the bottom, right? And how valuable it could be. And it's like I don't know. I just feel like other teams would do that before going for Thad. So I don't know, like where you stand on that situation as of right now.
Well, I don't know. I don't know particularly if that is like the whole the bottom centers like in a sense like a free agent center being just like that much like a team just wanting that over trying to trade for Thad Young. Um, maybe it's become more like apparent now than before, obviously, because we're just not playing that, and I don't think we're putting ourselves in the ideal situation to actually raise his value up enough. Um, but yeah, with the team like Phoenix, like with that specific team, we had those talks. It was supposed to be that we traded that to them because they wanted that extra big man, and then they just pick up Bismack Biyombo, which obviously I would say that none of the teams thought Bismack Biyombo was going to be a serviceable big this year, and that's why he just wasn't picked up. Um, so for Phoenix to be able to just pick him up on his 10-day. he shows that he is serviceable, and then they're like, all right, well now, not necessarily saying that like teams are lucky or anything like that, but it's like, well, they chose the right card because they gave the right person the right chance, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to see though, like uh flash back like 2 years ago when COVID was like really first taking off, and you could kind of feel, not basketball related, but you could feel that COVID was gonna have a reach that was gonna like touch every industry and have a lot of effects, right? You could just feel it. So like in seeing the ways that it's affected the NBA, it's been interesting to me to see this year, like there are a lot of people who under normal basketball operations would be out of the league already. Like they have a little bit of opportunity and then it doesn't come around again. Teams would rather opt for younger options, uh, potential and all that kind of stuff, right? Cheaper options, blah, blah, blah. But because of all of this, people having to miss, there's been people who have been out of the league a little bit or whatever, who've gotten like second chances, third chances. And so it's been interesting to see, like you said, like a guy like Biombo at the beginning of the year, not on anybody's radar. Now, flash forward to now, very valuable. You know what I mean? Like that's a very valuable asset. So like, I don't know, like in my opinion though, like it's always been that valuable. Like a guy like when we picked up like Zeller, I know Zeller is not a flashy name. I know Zeller is not going to see the court for us very often. I know Zeller, like there's all these things of like why it's not a big time deal, but it is a big time deal in the back stretches of your mind when you need some with that height, when you need this, it's just better to have it than to not have it. So like, I like to pick up, I guess, you know what I mean? But it does scare me from my point of view of like, I'm just wondering, like, are we pushing towards a buyout for Thad? Like, is that looking more likely? You know what I mean? Like, and
I feel like
that's a bummer for me. Like, I know I've heard other people talk about how we've already kind of seen whatever return we're gonna get from him before, and so you have to be okay with us letting him get bought out. I just, it's like I don't care if we gave up a few seconds for Thad at this point. It's like I would prefer that.
Me too. I mean, it's disappointing to see. Like, I mean, I was on board with the idea of trading. I don't know if I was on board for trading the contract to get the Dario Saric, because the like the rumors and stuff were like it was, if I'm not mistaken, just like Dario Saric, Jalen Smith, and maybe a late first round pick, um, for Thad, and that's like, I don't mind that trade. Um, just because, like, I mean, it just gives us another young guy that can build in our system, and it gives us another late first round draft pick that I'm sure we would be able to do something with.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, like, I think that would just be a solid enough return, because that all, in a sense, that all still stems down from DeMar, and now it's gonna feel like, well, we're just getting some first round picks, or like, a far first round pick, um, or an early second round draft pick that could, sounds like it could be a one or two in the second round, which is good. And then a buyout for Thad Young, and that's not sounding as good in a trade for DeMar than anything else,
Yeah,
Which,
for sure.
granted, DeMar could have walked to a different team that had the cap, right? He could have just walked and got his money. Wouldn't have needed a sign and trade or anything like that. But we were able to get that little piece for DeMar, and I mean, that's like, in my head, like, it feels like we just kind of wasted another opportunity, by not trading him so early. Uh, but at the same time, it just kind of, cards don't fall in your hands all the time, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and again, like it's been talked about a lot this year about just like, well, a lot of teams probably understand that he's probably headed towards a buyout, or probably are banking on the fact, um, or on top of that, it's like they're already having to do deeper dives and deeper digs into these 10 days into their G League teams. So it's like we're already doing all this stuff. Let's just do some due diligence and find some people who will do what Thad was going to do for us and not have to give up any like picks for it or whatever. So it's like, like you said, cards falling in our favor, or in this case, a lot of cards falling out of our favor in terms of like how we're going to handle him. Yeah. So I don't know. I was just curious, especially because it could, if there is a trade, it could happen. I mean, it could happen soon. Thad's most likely will go to the last day. But I think most people would have imagined that Bryn Forbes gets dealt, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless I mean, people might not agree, but in my opinion, like, it was from day one that he signed with us. I think even he knew too. Like, the idea is for you to come here, get us started. Let's get you started, and then we'll look in around. By February, we're already looking where you're going to finish the season. I don't think that was behind the curtains on anybody. I think they knew that. But I still think that it happened a little bit earlier than maybe Spurs fans would have imagined. Like, I think most of us would have thought trade deadline, the day, is when Forbes gets moved. So the fact that Forbes got moved a little early, that could get moved prior. You know what I mean? We never know.
For sure. But just to bring it back to the week as a whole, um, before we start moving on to more talks about, like, Bryn's trade and stuff like that, I do want to bring up, like, the good spot, like this bad sandwich of a loss. Like, I want to talk about that win.
Mm-hmm.
And that Thunder win was very sound and very good. It was a thing that, like, it didn't feel like one person on our team took over. It felt like our entire team stepped up and wanted to play. Now, Dejounte having a triple double in 3 quarters is something to be proud of. That's something, like, in a sense, that is him taking over the game.
Yeah,
But it was still, like,
everybody did their job. For us to have basically
yeah.
a whole fourth quarter of garbage time, everybody did well.
Exactly, and it's something that I just, like. I mean, I look at the stat line, and I'm happy seeing our 5 starters in double digits, 2 of our 5 starters with 20. We had 19 off the bench. I guess the only thing, like, is Lonnie on 1 for 9. But I
Yeah,
mean, that's
and you had the fourth quarter where the pressure is not as high. We have a big lead. He could have been spearheading that whole fourth quarter with that unit out there, and he still, just kind of had his rough night continued. I was okay with his shooting woes in the first 3 quarters, because everybody else is picking up the slack, and we've talked about that a little bit before too. It's like, we can hate on him because we want his production to be higher. But if we're all doing our job, we don't need Lonnie Walker to score 17 points a night. But it is disappointing, like you said, to kind of see. I wanted him to join the party a little bit that night.
exactly, like, I don't think we need to harp on him too much. Obviously, it was a good W, and it's not like we didn't, like you said, we didn't need the scoring, but it just would have been nice. It would have been something that, like, especially off of the Phoenix game, whenever I see both Devin and Lonnie shoot pretty bad off the bench for us, like, it's that kind of stuff where, like, one of those 2 guys does need to hit every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, we can't
yeah,
have both of them shooting bad. And obviously Devin shooting good just kind of adds to the already good start that we had against OKC.
mm-hmm.
But it's still just like, all right, well, even into the Brooklyn game, it's just one of those things where if both of them are shooting bad, it's very hard to see us be able to keep up with teams.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
because DJ can't be on the floor 48 minutes. Derek can't be on the floor for 48 minutes. And we need Devin and we need Lonnie to be able to step up. So
I wonder, like, Devin Vassell. There are nights when his aggression is like, he's moving with a lot of energy, and most of those nights starts really well for him. Like, offensively, he'll get a lot of shot attempts off, and we've seen him kind of get into an early rhythm too. So I don't know. I'm curious. Like, we used to talk about Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge, like the 2 of them, right? And the idea of LaMarcus Aldridge was a rhythm guy. He needed to have the ball in his hand a lot. He wanted to get a lot of touches, and it benefited us when we would give him the ball early, first quarter, and get him moving, right? And Kawhi Leonard was a guy who didn't necessarily need the ball in his hand, but that as we got into the second quarter, as we got into the fourth quarter, we transitioned to kind of letting him run through the offense a little bit more, right? So I'm curious, like, if maybe Devin's a guy who we look for earlies in the first and in the thirds, to give flurries and to get him rhythm, and then second and fourth, Dejounte Murray is kind of more that takeover offensive player. I wonder how that would bode for us.
That would be, I mean, that's something to say the least. It does feel like we try to set Devin up for a good night, like
Mhm.
almost every night. It feels like we do give him a couple like solid opportunities, right? Give him set plays where he is the one taking the shot, because we drew it up for him, kind of thing, right? All that kind of stuff. Nothing like this play was designed for DeJounte and Yak in the pick and roll, and Devin just found his spot. We were able to give it to him for the shot, right? Um, like we do have those times where it is like literally set for Devin. I think my problem is like we will like have those for him right at the beginning of the game, and then I don't think we go to him anymore for the rest of the game. Like we don't really
Yeah,
have set plays for him after the first quarter.
yeah,
He
I
just
can
stopped like
I can see that for sure. But maybe
um
we need a little bit more of what you said. Like, okay, we set you up, but then we do have to have times where the play's not run for him, but he still
yeah,
finds the ball.
and
And maybe that's a little bit more on him.
yeah, well, so I mean, but that's my only thing is like, and I feel like this is the difference between him and Lonnie is like, when Devin's not shooting good, he is doing a lot of other things on the
Yeah,
floor that makes him that impactful, right?
yeah,
His defense is stellar. His off the ball movement, like he is one of the only people on our team that is willing to just be able to just go from the corner three to just the wing three, like because he just sees how the movement of our offense shifts.
hmm
um, and that's good. That's really good. That's something that I like seeing from Devin. And I literally think like right now his problem throughout like just this part of the season is just knocking down the shot, because I don't think he makes many bad decisions. And I think he sets himself up for good spots. I think our team sets him up for good spots. Like I even if I have like my little troubles with like the um like us not running plays through him later in the game, it's still a matter where it's not the worst thing in the world that that he gets his first couple sets plays and then he's just in rhythm all night, and we
yeah.
just find him whenever we find him.
Yeah, so
um
I guess that's maybe what I'm trying to hope for is like, because like what you said, there are nights where the only thing that's really hurting him is just the fact that he is missing the shot. So I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe there is a way where yeah, or I guess that's what I'm trying to say is if we get him looks early, hopefully that we can get him into that rhythm so that we can just have more nights where he's just feeling good. I do feel bad for Lonnie again because that Thunder game was kind of like that. It was like he was getting good looks. He was getting tons of good looks. He just couldn't hit them. So I mean, I'm trying to look. I'm trying to think. We had Thunder, Suns, and Nets. I'm trying to think like, was there any bright spots for me? Obviously, Dejounte Murray is continuing his thing and everything like that. But I don't think I wrote any things that kind of caught my eye. Oh, maybe just the idea of I was pretty pleased with our. Let me just double check. I was very pleased with our third quarter in the OKC game. And I've just been thinking a lot about the third quarter because that's like where we've been losing a lot of these games. So I was like, all right, this is, we talked about OKC. This is a team that we need to beat. Well, this is the time where we let games get away from us. And instead we were able to put the game away essentially in that third. So overall, man, just and then just in general, that is us, showing as close as we can that even though that team is not very far behind us in terms of the losses, we are better than a 12 seed. You know what I mean? Like we our team just we haven't hit it all the time yet, but we really do deserve to be all up in the mix with all these teams that are sitting 6 through 10 or whatever. Like we just that in my opinion, and it kind of showed like we executed against a team like OKC the way we needed to, you know what I mean, and the results are what the results are. The game was over 3/4 in, you know what I mean. So I was excited for it.
yeah, I think the most exciting thing for me was Patty and LA's like return video.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just sitting here. I was sitting in my room watching it, just chilling, and then I like turned into the broadcast like early and everything, and sure enough, um, Bill's like, "All right, here's the video for this stuff," and I just start screaming for Patty. I'm like, "Whoa!" So overall, definitely you stole my moment of the week, which was the third quarter for the OKC thing.
Oh, damn.
I it was definitely that was definitely the thing that I was gonna like. I mean, I'm just glad we did bring it up because it was the bright spot of the week in terms of our play. But to kind of move it forward, we did have Patty Mills and LA coming to San Antonio. We did get to see a tribute video. I'm sure most if well no I actually can't say all Spurs fans cried because some Spurs fans on Twitter like to say that Patty Mills doesn't deserve his jersey retirement, but most Spurs fans cried during that tribute video because that is our guy, that is our dude. And you know um I wished our two brothers would be able to be on the show today because it is something that we like to do. We did it last year with Manu. I think we talked about Tim. We didn't do a Tony one, so we'll definitely have to do a Tony spotlight here soon before the season ends. But definitely Patty deserves his shine. He deserves a whole 5 hours of Spurs fans talking about how much we love him and all that stuff. But we'll just give a little bit of time of our own to talk about how great our man Patty Mills is and what we think our favorite moment is. Um, Chris, do you have like a moment that comes to your mind, or do you want me to go first? I can go ahead and spit mine if you need me to.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily have like a singular moment. I mean, because I feel like every moment that he has, it's all derivative of the same thing, right? Which is him bringing the energy, him like corralling the team in a way, wanting us to push forward, right? So like that's what you want in a teammate, right? So it was just a pleasure to kind of have him with us for. It was crazy to see uh, Dan Weiss tweet the other day saying that this was going to be his fourth game against the Spurs. That tripped me out. Like in my head, he played for Portland a little bit longer than he did, I guess. And maybe that's just me playing with him on like NBA 2K 5 or 4 or something like that. I don't know, with Portland or something. But yeah, just in general, I mean, obviously, like the flurries of threes in the finals and all that kind of stuff. If anything, it would be okay. So we go to the finals in 2013, I think, and then in 2014 we win the finals, and then that summer after we had won the championship, I'm pretty sure he was up for free agency. And so I was able to went and stood in line at a HEB for like a couple hours or whatever and got him to sign this shirt, right? And I think I gave it to Juan. Um, but just being able to kind of let him know, like, man, we needed you. We needed you. You helped us, and we want you to stay, right? And that was 2014. And so having so many people in line, like telling him back to back, like, stay, Patty, please stay. Stay, Patty, please stay. And for him to, in hindsight, stay for another 5 years plus. So it's been a good run, man. Truly like the embodiment of like, all right, that guy's a Spur forever.
No kidding. I mean, you know, uh, I was still just a little too young to really soak in everything from the 2014 finals. Um, and I to me that's like a darn shame. Like I can rewatch the things. I can see Patty uh do Patty things whenever we needed it most. And that's always nice. It's always really good to see. But the big thing for me, especially when it comes to these type of moments, we talked about it with with Gino last year about how like my favorite Gino is the Harden block because I saw it live. Like I wasn't there. I like just on TV. We're
Hmm.
watching the game. I tuned in and I see Ginobili block Harden, and I go crazy because that's like the moment that I had. There, nothing else beats that moment for me, because I was finally a full basketball viewer, and I saw Ginobili do that live, right? And so for me, it goes to the same thing with Patty. Like I didn't get to see him do his crazy stuff in 2014, and I know there's a couple game winners here and there that I just didn't catch, but the one in Mexico that we had over Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I see his energy after he hits it. That was like, I mean, to me, that's like the embodiment of Patty. Like you said, the energy, right? Just we know that he's a Spur for life kind of thing, and he hit the game winner, and it was just one of the craziest things to me that like we had that guy for so long, and he's him, man. He's Patty. He's
Yeah.
one of the best ever
and
for
and,
us.
and we and we had and we got a chance to see Tony Parker be competitive all the way into June with the Spurs, leave to go do France things, be competitive with them, come back to the Spurs, and like back and forth. We saw Timmy, we saw Ginobili do the same thing with Argentina. So like he, Patty fit right in line with that. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
uh just being able to see his motor and see like how he just keeps going all the time.
And
It just
my goodness, talking about those, whenever Tony and Manu went to France, Argentina, and stuff like that. When Patty went to Australia, I saw him play in the
yeah.
Olympics. That
Yeah,
stuff was he was
and
going
and and
off. He's
and you
crazy.
see a little different than the Tony and Manu because they're leaders on both teams, whereas he's a leader on his national team, and he's a spiritual leader, but he's not necessarily the one or two option on the Spurs. So you got to see a different side of him, and
Hmm.
you're like, dang, like this guy, he brings all this energy to our team, and he does it he brings all the energy to their team too, on top of the responsibilities that he has as being a leader on the court. You know what I mean? So like,
As being pretty much the best player on that team, like
yeah,
like it was just crazy, man. Seeing him take especially take as many shots as he did. I was like, my goodness, Patty. But it was very nice to see, and it was another special thing to see him get a medal for his country. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like it's always that kind of stuff that I mean, I love seeing Spurs in general just succeed. So seeing Patty get that medal for Australia was
yeah.
definitely something to be proud of for him.
And,
Um,
and speaking of seeing Spurs succeed, to see LA back, we thought he was going to be with Brooklyn. He thought he was going to be with Brooklyn. Had to retire early. Was able to come back. Was able to have a good game against us. I mean, we know that we're
dude,
weak. We know that we're weak down low. We didn't. You didn't see him running out and contesting. A lot on the perimeter. He just stuck with what was good, what he's good at. And I'm happy that he has continued to
LA
be able to do his thing.
LA's definitely been like pretty much the best big in Brooklyn, like for them. I mean, Nick Claxton's cool. He's athletic, right? He's got the defense, but he's still young. He's still a baby compared to the likes of LA, Paul Millsap, Blake Griffin. Who else was in Brooklyn this year?
I think that's kind of it. Aldridge, Blake, and what you said, Millsap.
right? And so I mean, like, I'm sure coming into the year, like, I don't think anybody was really like expecting LA to like far and away be the best role player for them, for that big man position. But sure enough, man, he's been doing everything that they ask him, and he's doing it efficiently.
Yeah.
So I can never tell you that I'm rooting for Brooklyn, especially, we didn't really talk about it too much, but everybody on Spurs Twitter throughout the night, getting very upset over James Harden and his
I was trying
and
to
his
be I
play.
was trying to be cordial. I was trying to be nice, in a good mood. James Harden tried his damnedest to ruin it with that elbow, but
Yeah, I can't stand James Harden. I don't think I'll ever be a fan of James Harden, like, ever.
mhm,
Um, KD's okay. And then Kyrie, I like Kyrie, but obviously only getting to see him play half a year is just, it's a little weird. Like, half a year, half of the games in the year.
yeah,
But either way, I don't think I'll really be like, let's go Brooklyn. If Patty wins another ring, I can be happy. If LA wins another ring, I can be happy. but I don't think I'd be super happy seeing Brooklyn win.
Yeah, it would be LA's first, which would be good. Obviously, Tiago Splitters with the organization too. So like
Yeah,
there are reasons, but like you said, the James Harden, the James Harden is number one of like why I wouldn't root for them. And then the number two is just the whole like you still have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving all
Kyrie.
on the same team. Yeah, and it's like that's not interesting to me.
Exactly. And even the fact that like it definitely feels like the refs like started the season off right with all the foul baiting and stuff, and then James Harden complains, and you start to see more complaints and yada yada yada, and then all of a sudden James Harden's fouls go back up and his attempts are up and he's
Yeah.
shooting a lot better. He's playing a lot more efficiently. So it's something. It's definitely the most frustrating thing to just be like, oh well, of course these superstars get their way and yada
Yeah.
yada yada, right? But let's not take that away from the fact that it was nice to see Patty. It was nice to see LA. I didn't we set that spotlight for Patty. I think we could set just a mini spotlight for LA and the things that he did for us, because he was also killer. He was also very, very good for us. And like obviously there are moments when you're just like, okay, well, you can tell it's kind of over for the Spurs and LA, but even then, like I don't think um I don't think there was really any hard feelings at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing to be like, well, we don't like LA or anything like that because of how he played or whatever or what he did to us kind of thing. Like, nah, man. He came in, he accepted a bench role for us for a little bit, like he was willing to sacrifice a lot for us to succeed. And I mean,
Yeah.
I can respect that.
Took a lot more outside threes and did a lot of things. And I mean, there's a few avenues where you still keep LaMarcus on your team a little bit, like maybe a little bit longer. If we have like a Claxton type of center instead of Jakob, and we have somebody who's a little bit more athletic, you don't feel as bad having a guy like LaMarcus on the court and all that kind of stuff. If we have a dynamic, and we had DeMar DeRozan, so I don't want to not call him a dynamic wing, but like if we have a guy that's a little bit more defensive minded on the perimeter, it helps a guy like LaMarcus. So they're not like what you were saying, not to say that we got rid of him because he had nothing to offer. It's just that the way our team is constructed and the way we're trying to go, it just was time, So
Exactly.
and same thing when it comes to like a bright spot. It's tough for me to pinpoint like one moment. I'm a big fan of post play in general. Coming from Tim Duncan is the greatest. So when you watch the greatest, you see the people who stack up next to him, right? So coming up out of Portland, here comes LaMarcus Aldridge. It was like, oh man, this guy is freaking automatic. Pick and pop. He's big enough to kind of push people around down low. He likes to use his body when he's down low. Like everything about that man's game, I love. So like the day that we signed him, I can't I don't even I don't know who was around me, man. Like you'd have to see, but I was just like already I could picture just so clearly like, all right, we're gonna be in the finals. LaMarcus hitting turnaround jumpers from the elbow, in the fourth quarter. Like, oh, I was just, it was so set in stone. So I mean, like, I enjoyed just about every moment of him being with us too.
Yeah, I mean that to me, my like biggest thing that I will always go to in my mind is the 2017 playoffs, and just seeing how well he did. Like just seeing like that. I think that was like. I mean, I still think that was the prime year for us, man. That was the year that if we were gonna get it done, it should have been that year.
Yeah.
And I mean, even in Golden State, like he was so good that first game, that we had everybody was good on the team in that one night, right? But like LA just like he just stood out so much in that series because it was, I mean, like I always like to say that it was like kind of a one-man show with Kawhi, but at the same time, you can't forget LA. You cannot forget that, like,
Yeah,
the stuff that he
the hope is that 17, 18, 19, like that era right there is you get max effort from LA and Kawhi, like that window right there.
exactly.
So I mean,
And I mean that was like I could just like it was definitely like you said, like when we signed LA and I started to watch basketball more, it was definitely like just seeing our team and being like, oh my goodness, we're about to go from Tony, Manu, Timmy to Kawhi LA. Like this is going to be crazy.
yeah.
And
With baby Dejounte.
exactly. So it was definitely something that I mean I'm not gonna be too crazy upset over how like the last couple years have gone because I've enjoyed them, but just would have been very nice to see LA on a podium with a trophy, for San Antonio.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, we're still into this year, and one of the biggest things in Spurs news has happened, which is a trade. So um, we finally traded Bryn Forbes. We were finally able to find him a suitor, and I'm glad that it's to go to the likes of Denver over a team like LA. Just because Denver, I'm not the biggest fan of Denver, but I can't be mad if Denver starts to do good now that Bryn Forbes is there. But if I can remember the specifics of the trade, we traded Bryn Forbes for Juancho Hernangomez and a second round draft pick. That was all part of a 3-team trade. And Boston, who had Juancho and traded him to us, also got PJ Dozier and Bol Bol.
Mm.
But those two guys for Boston don't really matter because they were just kind of trading just to get rid of cap space,
Yeah. And
or
I
to
think
open
I
up
I
cap
think I
space.
heard that neither one of them was going to play this year.
Pretty much. They're both. I'm pretty sure PJ Dozier is out for the year, definitely. Whereas Bol can make a comeback, but I don't think Bol will play for the Celtics. I
Mhm.
think they do something with them. So either way, they like at that point, right? Boston's deal is there; it's set in stone for them. Want to talk about San Antonio and what this means for us, because we did just lose a 40% 3-point shooter, and we've kind of talked about it, like whether or not fans liked it or not. Bryn Forbes kept us in games sometimes, and that was a lot. That like he did do a lot as a role player for us, and
Yeah.
now we don't have 40% 3-point shooting off of our bench. Um, so I definitely think there's going to be a couple games here or there where we're going to be missing the Bryn Forbes impact. We're going to be like, man, if only we had a 40% 3-point shooter coming off the bench to just shoot the skin off the ball, right?
Yeah. It's
Feel
a
off the
little
ball.
it's a little bit like it's an extension of the things that we did, the ties that we cut last year, right? And we're gonna lose games in times that DeMar usually bailed us out. We're gonna lose possessions and opportunities even in things that Rudy Gay did for us. And LaMarcus Aldridge, right? So it's kind of like that. Moved on to this season, trying to make room for some of these new guys. Um, but I agree with what you said about Denver. I mean, to give him a spot to compete for another championship, for it not to be one of those big market teams like an LA or even like a Brooklyn, it makes it easier to kind of root, to again like a win-win for everybody. And then on top of that, like uh able to pick up somebody who could fill in some minutes at the 4. Hernangomez, 6'9", sure. Like the size, right, is what we've said a lot. So and then last I saw some tweets come out, and Juancho, they were asking him questions or whatever, and he had mentioned like, yeah, I was pretty excited when I found out I was getting traded here. He said that he had a workout with us a couple years ago and that it went really well, and that like when he came back, that like it kind of felt a lot like the same, So, I mean, I'm hoping that can be a good fit. It doesn't have to be a savior or anything like that, but as long as he can come in and fill in good minutes, then I'm all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with just letting us ride out with Juancho for the year, because it's I mean, I don't think he'd be any worse or any better than the likes of KBD. And the aspects of, we just need a guy to fill in roles whenever he needs to. KBD I see more in the 4-3 position, and Juancho I could see being small ball center, just dependent on if we really need it, but we have the guys to fill in the role.
Yeah.
We do have our bigs. We have Yak, we have Jock, we have Drew. So
Zach Collins
Zach
is
Collins
starting to
is
make his
is
way.
exactly. So we have our guys to be the five,
Yeah.
but if there's that sixth person that we just need, or fifth person that we just need, but there's Wancho. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's possible.
Um,
It's kind of like let me just real quick look up his height, but it's kind of like Brooklyn would go like Paul Millsap at the 5 at times, and he's 6'7" is what it says. Um, and it's interesting because Paul Millsap just very recently, like Brooklyn said, we're gonna move him, find him a suitor, blah blah blah. And so like that's a name. When I saw that name, I was like, okay, that's a guy, right? Like that you possibly could. He's not gonna want to come to San Antonio. I'm not trying to, obviously, but that is a guy, right, that you could plug in and feel like you got a little stronger, a little bit more sturdy. And then when I saw he's 6'7" and I see Hernangomez 6'9", I'm like, okay, that makes me feel better, like about the Wancho trade. To be honest, like just having a big body, somebody out there who can just give you minutes when you need it, and kind of
exactly.
So I'm good about it. I haven't seen him play too much. I mean, when I'm looking at him right now, and I definitely recognize him, especially with the Boston Celtics uniform on, but just don't really remember too much about his game all that much.
Well, I mean, the biggest factor that I can put into it is that, like, he can be a defensive liability, and that could just be boiled down to how Boston's scheme is. But he can be a pretty big defensive liability, which isn't the best thing. Like we want to have a guy that would be able to play solid in a defensive minded system. But either way, like I still don't think it's a bad thing. I think because it's literally just like, all right, well, we're gonna run it through everybody, and then finally, if we need another person, another body out there, we'll be able to throw Wancho. And
Yeah,
there's nothing gonna be wrong with that, because he's solid enough. He'll be able to do whatever you ask him. And I don't think we'll be asking him to do much for us.
yeah.
So
If anything,
um,
to be honest, he's probably playing as sporadically and asking to do the same things as Dad was doing.
exactly. And so I don't mind. I don't mind. He's the person that I don't mind keeping on this roster for the year past trade deadline. I think they said something about how we could possibly move him. But we can't package him in a trade, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's what I heard too.
Um, so uh, with that, I definitely think that the trade overall is just fine for us, because I mean, you sign a 1 year guy, you play him for a little bit, you get that value. Um, we needed size, so we get some size, and then we get a future second round draft pick, which can develop pretty good. And we'll see what comes out of that in the next couple years.
Yep.
Um, but it's still, like, honestly, it's one of those things for me where obviously we're never gonna see San Antonio make a big trade. We're not gonna see us be like blockbuster move trading Derek White, Dejounte Murray, Devin Vassell, and Jakob for one guy. Like, we're not that team. But we it's definitely just nice to see us be able, put us in another trade. And it's that kind of stuff where yeah, we needed the size, but we're also doing Boston a favor by making that trade.
Hmm.
We're opening they're getting cap space opened up, because they're not trying to be in luxury tax. And I mean, that helps in terms of the future, because then we can talk to Boston and be like, look, we made this deal with y'all. That we're reasonable, kind of thing. give us Jaylen Brown for a second round draft pick.
Yeah,
You
right.
know what I mean?
But I mean, but it is true because I mean, when you think about the Spurs right now in terms of their, in terms of how they handle trade deadlines and those kind of negotiations, anyway, the words that you think about are buyout. Like you know what I mean? Like you think about that kind of thing, and so it's like it is good to kind of change the stigma or just change the conversation about what doing business with us would mean, or even if you think so you think buyout or you think about the Kawhi free agency period, right? And which is a lot of we had zero leverage in that situation, and maybe I'm thinking from the point, maybe I should say like from the point of view of a Spurs fan. When you think about us doing acquisitions, it's us having no leverage in the Kawhi deal. And then obviously when it comes to like a Thad buyout, it's most likely because it feels like we have no leverage in it, right? People are using the DeMar Carroll and the Pau Gasol and the all that kind of stuff against us. So like you said, to kind of change the conversation about us during these times is a good thing.
Exactly. So it's all that, to just reiterate that this was a solid trade, that this is something that San Antonio, we don't normally do this kind of stuff. And we came into the year. I for one, I remember the day that I was just chilling, and I look at my Woj notifications during free agency period.
It was late at night too.
Yep, and you just see the San Antonio Spurs have re-signed Bryn Forbes. Like in San Antonio was everybody in San Antonio was going crazy. Like, wait, is this real? Like, are you sure this wasn't from 2017, 2016? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It was funny because like I can't remember what other moves they did at the beginning of the day, but it was like pretty good, right? And so it was like, all right, the Spurs day in terms of the acquisitions and activity, you can go to sleep and feel pretty good about it. And then like it was just like right at the end, it was like, oh, by the way, boom, right? And so
Yeah,
it
here's
was
Bryn
funny.
Forbes.
It was a funny like flurry of energy at the end of the night, and it kind of felt a little similar because again, it was late at night, and then boom, you hear that Forbes is going to Denver or whatever. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting bookmarks for Bryn's second time here.
Yeah, exactly. But best of luck to Bryn. He's definitely gonna be good. I mean, I've never really harped on Bryn too much. I think sometimes he feels the need to put the ball on the floor and shoot, and I'm like, no, you should just kind of stay in your nice catch and shoot. But he's added to his game a little bit more. He's got that weird off foot floater that he does.
Yeah,
Um,
and you got to do that way less with two guys. I mean, Murray's not playing right now, but Murray and Jokic obviously, but those two guys are gonna have the ball in their hands so much that you're gonna have very limited opportunities of Bryn Forbes getting run off the line and doing all that kind of stuff.
No kidding, man.
So
And now I'm gonna have to at least watch a couple Denver games here and there just to see how many times Jokic finds a
yeah,
wide
right.
open Bryn Forbes and just see Bryn knock it down. Because
Exactly, and that's the thing too, is like you're not going to have to run him off the line because you got a guy who can find him with enough space and time to just take the shot.
exactly,
So he's gonna serve it up for him.
yeah. But to bring it back to San Antonio, we're halfway through the season. We didn't get to talk about it last week, so I wanted to kind of bring it up this week. But we're halfway through the season. Our record is lower than we had anticipated, and I mean, overall, there's just been ups and downs from all of our guys, but we have had this half a season. We are able to kind of look at our guys. I think for the most part, there's a good way to just kind of um, collect our thoughts about everybody at this point. Like we kind of know what we're getting from everybody. There's not really like this guy could surprise us. I'm hoping that a guy like Trey Jones can still surprise us for the second half of the season, but that's like another topic for another day. I just kind of wanted to bring up a mid-season depoy and a mid-season offensive player of the year. Obviously, the NBA doesn't do offensive player of the year. There's just your MVP. But I definitely think, I mean, there's two sides of the court for us, and I want to just kind of see what at least what you think about who our best offensive player has been this year, and then who our best defense player has been this year. So.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that like Dejounte Murray has been carrying the load, right? It's been crazy to watch because there are some nights where it feels like, man, it's a lot of work, and you can just feel like you're along the ride for him, right? Like you're pushing you're trying to do what you can or whatever. And then there's other nights where he just kind of makes it look easy. But yeah, I mean, to see Dejounte come into his own in terms of feeling more confident with those mid range, going from his right to his left, looking like Tony Parker, off the bounce, off the dribble, shooting 3-pointers. It just, yeah, I mean, moments where you can see that like he has this mindset of like, I need to score right now. It's been great. It's been great. So I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but that's where I would go.
Yeah, no, I mean, my offensive player of the year just got traded for a second round draft pick, so I kind of have to go for Dejounte. I think he's he's been solid enough as the number 2, but seeing the offensive player of the year get traded for Juancho in the second rounder, it was. I mean, I was excited to talk about it, but obviously now I just have to be like, well, Dejounte is our offensive player of the year so far. He's been fine, I guess, just putting up triple doubles,
Yeah.
Obviously, Dejounte has been our best offensive player this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Derek started off slow. Devin's in a slump right now. Lonnie's inconsistent. And I mean, it's DJ's. It's pretty much the DJ show when he needs when we need him to be. I guess like the bigger thing here is the defensive player of the year, who has been our best defensive player. And to me it boils down to 3 people. But I'll let you take the floor on this. What do you think?
Sure. Well, real quick, I just want to say that on top of Dejounte scoring when it comes to offense, obviously the assists and setting everybody else up and putting our guys in position. So, he's aces. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, me personally, when it comes to defensive player, I'm probably gonna give the nod to Jakob. Again, it's my bias. When it comes to the post, first of all, just the importance of it. I mean, to be our de facto, he's our one center, he's our one true center. And so again, kind of like Dejounte, it requires a lot of responsibility, and he's got to shoulder a lot of that on it, carry a lot of that load. So I mean, rim protection is great. Setting the way he sets his screens and or defends, screens and all that kind of stuff, uses his body. Love watching Jakob play. I also think that it's kind of getting better in terms of how they're officiating him, because I think that he could have been this good in terms of his production numbers wise last year, but I think he got called for way too many fouls last year. Yeah, just much like Dejounte, when he left our team because of health and safety, we fell off a cliff. So I mean, like, it's just very apparent to me how much we need a guy like that right now. And he doesn't do it. He does it on a good contract. He's got a good attitude. There's no complaints from me when it comes to Jakob.
Yeah, for sure. I think I like said it a lot last year that like my biggest thing with Jakob defensively was his perimeter defense. Just because it just felt like the lateral quickness wasn't there. And that was like a problem because it was definitely like, last year it was a lot more apparent when teams would space the floor and you would just see Jakob followed by LA or LA followed by Jakob just getting run off the 3-point line. And then, what are they to do at that point? But this year, Jakob's lateral quickness has gotten that much better. He's taken that leap. I'm obviously not going to tell you, I wouldn't say that he's like the best of the big guys to play outside like that. You still have more versatile bigs out there that can run guys off of the 3-point line and still play good interior defense, like like with the snap of a finger. But Jakob is definitely made his strides.
Yeah.
And then he's only second to Rudy Gobert in terms of the interior defense. So it's like his defense is definitely something to be astounded of. But I think the crazy part is, imagine being the second best interior defender in the NBA. And for me, at least, there's still things that he can work on. There's still things that he can improve that can make him that much better. And
and from a team point of view too, the things that we do as a whole unit that could help him out and make it easier for him.
And in my opinion, it's like the only things that I can say is somewhat some decision making on defense. Now obviously it's very hard to be a defender, to guess your opponent, to do all that kind of stuff, and he's obviously got the knack to instinctively play the right position when he needs to.
Yeah, and he's our only center, so when he makes the decision in any given possession, like I'm going for this ball or I'm doing this, he has to have conviction, because he's letting the defensive line break for just a second and there's nobody else. He's it. So yeah, man, he plays with good confidence, and it gives us confidence in him, you know what I mean, to make those decisions.
Yeah. And it's literally just like a thing where if he literally just stays a little bit more grounded, I think, like starts to learn, in a sense, to me it's the Timmy way, right? Like the adjust the shot. You don't have to block it, but adjust the shot. Make them feel uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
If he starts to pick that up, if he starts to really put that into his defensive assets, that to me, that's like what will ascend him that much better. That's what will show people why he is the second best defensive big in the league, or the best. Maybe he can take over Rudy's position here soon. We got time. We have time for Yak, and I definitely I think he would probably be my pick for Depoy, but I also want to bring up the likes of Derek White. Dejounte was the other person that it kind of boils down to. DJ, I think his load on offense pushes his defense a little bit farther back. Not everyone can be the two-way player for all 48 minutes of a game, and personally, his gambling on defense is a thing that I'm not super sold on. He gets his steals, he does, and that's good. I'm glad he does, but there's a couple times here and there where it's like, all right, stay a little bit more grounded, DJ. And it's the same thing with Jakob on that interior. What I was just saying. It's just the defensive selections, right? When are you going to pick the pass? When are you going to try, right? And I prefer more conservative, grounded play, which is something that I see from Derek more than I see from the other two. And that's why, even though Yak is probably the person I would choose, Derek's not too far behind him, in my opinion, because he chooses very, very well when he wants to take his charge, when he wants to play the back pedal and block the shot, all that kind of stuff on the defensive end for Derek that like astounds me. And he's been so good on the defensive end all year. The offense came along obviously, but the defense has been there all year.
And it's kind of like it's kind of like what you said about like DeJounte Murray has to shoulder so much of the offensive load that like he can't necessarily give all of his effort onto the other side. Not effort, that's the wrong word, but just like just his execution, his whole 100% self, right? Whereas on the flip side of that, like Derek White feels like when he goes out there, his purpose is to defend. Like that's just kind of what it feels like, and then his offense is the thing that you're trying to bring along and you want him to contribute in this and that, and obviously both players can be good at both of those things at the same time, but it just feels like the power balance right now is that DeJounte goes out to lead us from the offensive point of view, and Derek and Jakob kind of help to hold us down on the defense, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, man. And then on top of that, Derek White giving his body just about every single day. You know what I mean? If he was healthy, he would probably be. I think he's like third in charges right now or something like that. If he was healthy, his numbers would be up there with those guys. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. So many like great things that we see from our team. You know what I mean? And that just when we talked last week and we kind of had that little diversion or that little whatever conversation about like us being better than our record and blah blah blah. It's like those things. It's like we see the great habits, we see the building blocks, we see quite frankly, we see it on a semi frequent basis. There's just when it comes to winning games and losing games, it's not 2 factors, it's like 20 factors that come into play. And so, we're trying to put it together. But man, yeah, like you said, you'd be proud to have a Dejounte Murray be your best defender, Derek White be your best defender, or Jakob Poeltl on your team, and we're lucky enough to have all 3.
Exactly.
With room to grow with a guy like Devin Vassell, you know what I mean? So like,
and I mean, even Josh has definitely shown his fair share of making the right moves at the right time. Like, I mean, definitely been times, especially like when you see people trying to big body Josh. Definitely times where you see him get he's a baby, he's a little bit smaller, and you see him get hit, but then like the next play they'll try it again, and you see him affect it. You see him make the defensive adjustment because he's not afraid. Like he's out there ready to improve on the spot. So your friend Wanda saying awesome, right? It's very fun doing this stuff. Thank you
for watching, Grandma.
We I think that was a good summarization about our guys, in terms of just who Depoy is and our best offensive player for the season so far. I think Devin gets some honorable mention for Depoy, just because he has, I mean, it's the same thing with Derek. Even though like he's had his little slump here and there on offense, Devin's defense is here every night. When he's on the floor, his defense is there. I don't think I've ever seen Devin be negative on defense ever this season. Like I haven't really seen him really lose too many times on the defensive end against any player on a given night. Maybe a play here and there, obviously. No one's 100% perfect, but he makes the right plays. His gambles are also something that I'll see every now and then, that I'll be like, all right, well, that was a good gamble, Devin, nice steal, or well, you just try to pick a pass and now we're kind of falling apart just because now you're a step behind.
Yeah.
And so I mean, just give him some honorable mentions because he's growing too, and he's definitely going to be one of our best players on the defensive end here soon.
For sure.
But
Jakob has 1 more year with us on a contract, and then he's unrestricted, so we can offer him an extension next year.
I think so.
Okay, I think if we offer him an extension, I might have to get me a Poeltl jersey, hold it down.
For sure. That would be something. What number is Jakob? 25, right?
I think 25. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice number. It's a clean number.
Yeah.
I'm glad Jakob's not one of those guys that wears 34. I would never understand a 34 or
I 34.
I'm just talking about Shaq.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
No, because I mean I like Giannis, and Giannis wears 34. But no, like I don't know. It's just kind of, it's funny and weird to see centers wear like those big numbers. It's just when I see a guy wear 25, I see a guy wear 50. That's not too crazy, but I don't know. It's just other numbers. They're just weird to me.
77. That's
the
DeMar Carroll.
Yeah, well, even Luka wears 77 for Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, we have our 4 games that we're gonna go into. One we end our road trip, go to Houston, and then come back for 2-game home stretch. Or I said road trip, I meant to say homestand. But we play against Philly later today at 6:00.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go at Houston on Tuesday at 7. Come back home to play the Grizzlies on Wednesday, which is a back-to-back, obviously, at 7:30. And then we'll stay home to play against Chicago on Friday at 7:30. So I believe the title is rightly named Revenge Week because we're playing against Philly, Houston, and Memphis. I think this is their first time playing against Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So that'll definitely be fun to see DeMar's homecoming, which is also in the title, right?
Mhm.
And I am excited for this week, but at the same time, I can also be pretty terrified for this week. Because like you said, revenge game. I guess my biggest thing is Houston, because Houston. I mean, we better not lose to Houston again. We got to come out and kick their butts. We cannot let them get a win over us like that. And then the reason why I say I'm terrified is because of Philly and Memphis, because I don't think I've ever really seen us match up well against Joel. And then I don't think I've ever seen us match up well against Memphis. So it'll be fun to see us play against DeMar. That's like how my mindset going is in this week.
I was trying to see if Jakob, what did Jakob look like the last time we played against Philly? 30 minutes, 17 points. Okay. I get what you're saying. I put revenge games in quotes too, because I mean, it's like we lost to these teams for a reason, right? I agree with you on the fact that like it's kind of frustrating too, because we need to match up well against our division opponents and we need to win those games. But right now, Memphis is just you had said before, this was not on camera, but I think I was at your house and you had said something along the lines of like, Memphis is like one step ahead of us in terms of like where we are progressing through our like rebuilding phase or whatever. And I would probably say that they're probably like maybe 2 steps ahead or something like that, just because of time, or whatever. And obviously, like, Ja Morant is everything that people are talking about him is true,
Yeah,
right?
a guy like Ja Morant pushes the rebuild. Like that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
like
exactly.
even you look
Even
at
through
the
even through Jaren Jackson being up and down and on
exactly.
and off the court. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at that roster, and I'm pretty sure they're one of the youngest rosters in the league. I think I remember
Yeah,
hearing a stat that said they're like the second youngest roster.
I heard the same.
And that technically should make them like behind us, right? In a point of view, right? Like they're younger. That means that they should not be as far along on the rebuild. But when you have a guy like Ja Morant that pushes things, that puts you in another step, and then even though your guys are young, you still have the likes of like Desmond Bain, Kyle Anderson, because even though Desmond Bain's a second-year player, I think he's already 25, 26. And but still, Desmond Bain, Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, you still have those guys that are older, and then players that while they probably haven't this probably the second or third year they've been with the Grizzlies for all 3 of those years, and they're just progressing even more.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they have a good blend of youth and continuity and good attitude.
I didn't even mention
Go ahead.
I didn't even mention Steven Adams. So
Yeah,
so
so they have youth, they have energy, but then the guy, guys like Steven Adams help bring home the idea of like the attitude that they need. You know what I mean? Ja Morant brings it too. Ja Morant is spearheading them, but I mean, you feel the remnants of old grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies, but it's not slow. Back in the day, grit and grind meant we're gonna slow you down. The game's gonna get ugly as heck. We're gonna beat you up. Zach Randolph is gonna beat you up down low. Then it became Marcus Gasol with Zach Randolph. Then it was and they went through Conley and all that kind of stuff. Like it was just a different vibe, and it's the same vibe, but much faster, much more. You know what I mean? So I enjoy watching their team when they're not playing San Antonio. Like you know what I mean?
yeah, me too, man. Me too. I
And
think
I've been like when you hear me be a broken record for like 3 years now talking about the importance of size and all that kind of stuff, it's because when I see the Memphis Grizzlies draft a guy like Jaren Jackson, like that scares me. You know what I mean? Because it's like that's dynamic playing mixed with I'm bigger than you. You know what I mean? So like like that kind of stuff does scare me. So I agree with what you're saying when it comes to Memphis. But on the flip side, it's like, what are we gonna do to match that? I mean, like, okay, that's what their team looks like. what's next? You know what I mean? Like, do we just not suit up and not play, or do we try to go beat them? You know what I mean? So last time we played Memphis on December 31st, 105-118. Derek White with 15, Jakob with 15, Lonnie with 11, Bryn with 15, Trey with 13. Like, that was the distribution right there. There was no Dejounte Murray.
Right.
So I mean, like, obviously that's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I mean, we definitely like the fact that we didn't have DJ, tell stories. The fact that we will have DJ coming into that Memphis game on Wednesday. And I mean, that's like, what can we do? What can Dejounte and Derek do defensively against a guy like John Morant? And then how can DJ pick apart that offensive that Memphis defense?
Yeah, and we can match their energy. We can match their attitude. To be honest, we can. We got guys who like to smirk and like to whatever, but it's just harder to do that when you're losing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so Memphis, you get sucked into like their vibe because they're beating you. And so when they beat you, they can smirk and they can talk and they can this, and you know what I mean. And that's powerful. You know what I mean? Golden State was kind of the same way. Like, they could talk smack and get you out of your element with that part of their game just as much as, well, not just as much, but because of the fact that they were splashing on you. You know what I mean? So it fed into each other, and Memphis feeds into themselves really well.
And all respect to Memphis too, man. Like I remember seeing I watched the Memphis and Chicago game this last week. Is I think it was like on MLK Day. I was able to just sit down, watch basketball all day. Pretty nice day overall, but I was able to watch that Memphis Chicago game, and you can tell, man. You can just tell that it's one of those things where people might take it as disrespect, but it's definitely not. Like, it's just the energy that they got. It's just these guys that are just willing to fight, and not afraid to back down from any opponent. And even like the Lakers game, right? When LeBron is like trying to tell these guys to step down after they're winning a game, like, they get all the right to talk their mess that night because they beat LeBron, or they were beating LeBron at that point. And I mean, some of it is like a you can respect your opponent and still talk your talk, right? You can definitely say things about how you're gonna win, they're gonna lose, whatever, without acting like a child. And I think Memphis does that, like, to the T. I think they do it right,
Yeah, for sure. It's and because of that, it's like you start to garner that reputation where you're in for a grind when you go play us. You know what I mean? So it's good. It's good for them to build that reputation for themselves. I will say, like, to give ourselves credit, the same thing. The last time we played them, I mean, you got Jaren Jackson, 31 minutes. He went 12 and 11. Steven Adams, 26 minutes. He went 12 and 13. And that's with us having Jakob playing 24 minutes. Other than Jakob, we got 23 minutes from Keita Bates, so he's probably our secondary big man at that point. Thaddeus Young had 12 minutes. Drew Eubanks with 8. Jock with 9, and they only scored 3, 5. Not to worry about their offense really, but just the idea of Yak really was shouldering the load against Jackson and Adams that night, and to hold him to 12 and 12, basically, not bad. You know what I mean? So, hopefully we're not having Zach Collins for tonight's Sunday game against Philly, but
he already did get called back. He did get called back.
He did, but they ruled him out for today. But let's say we get him on Tuesday, will be great. But let's say we get him for at least that Grizzlies game. We're a little bit reinvigorated down low a little bit. We're gonna have Dejounte Murray. That guy is gonna bring the fire. That guy's gonna come ready to play. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm even though it's one of those things where it's like, I know we haven't matched up well against them. We haven't had a lot of success in the past 2 to 3 years against Memphis. I'll just say 2 years. I'm still looking at that game as like, I'm circling it. We need to win it. I feel like there are paths to us getting a victory. So, it's like, Yeah. Spoiler
Mhm.
alert. Spoiler alert for our predictions. Like, I need us to win that game.
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, before we do get into the weekly predictions, there's still one more game in that week, and that is against DeMar DeRozan in the Chicago Bulls. Um,
Mhm.
I think if you can real quick start looking up the injury reports before we finish up this kind of stuff. And I'll just talk about DeMar. Just because DeMar's been killer all year. It's crazy to see him be an MVP candidate. We haven't really talked about him too much on the pod, but I think all four of us on the pod knew how good DeMar was. And I for me it's exciting to see him be an MVP candidate. To see him do good in a Chicago uniform is something nice to see because I harbor no hate towards Chicago. Um, all I whenever I think about Chicago, I don't even really think about Derrick Rose because I didn't really see too much of that. It's mainly it goes from Jimmy Butler and Michael Jordan. Like those are the two guys that I watched play in Chicago. And really Jimmy was like kind of 1 year because it was the year that it was like him, Dwayne Wade, and Rondo. So um, it's just nice to see another person do that kind of stuff in Chicago, and DeMar's killing it this year. And they have a bunch of other pieces that have been playing solid. I know they're without Alex Caruso because of that one flagrant foul.
Mhm.
They're out with no Lonzo Ball, um, and I don't think Patrick Williams is set to come back here soon. So a couple solid pieces that they're going to be missing playing coming into this Friday against us. So it'll definitely be something to see how we play against Chicago with their depleted roster. We'll see what we could do. Maybe we can take advantage of DeMar's defense, or you know, just make sure that we kind of clog up the mid range for him. Not let him get to his spots the way that he would for us.
Yeah, for sure. And it does help. It helps not having Caruso out, or not having Caruso in, and for sure, Lonzo Ball, right? So I mean, we're not going to be able to see the same. The Bulls have been on a pretty good. Well, let me just say they've been having a good season, right? Like ups and downs, but a lot of ups, a lot of really good things coming out of their team. So we won't see the best that they've got, which is unfortunate. We will see them a couple weeks later. Yeah, on Valentine's Day. So maybe that game will be I don't think Ball will still be out, but you know, it is what it is at this point, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe that's a game similar to the kind of like how we played Boston this year. We played Boston really well, right? And they've been up and downs in terms of their execution. Maybe the injuries kind of start to create a little bit of up and down in terms of their execution. And as long as we go in with the right mindset, play them well. I don't want to see a DeMar DeRozan buzzer beater though.
I don't want to see a DeMar DeRozan buzzer beater. Definitely not a three. If DeMar hits a three in San Antonio's arena, I will be a little livid. I'll be like, why did you do
Yeah.
that at all for us?
I don't want to see anybody biting for pump fakes from him. Like I want to see like real solid, like that's what
I want to see
I'll be
Devin
enjoying that.
Vassell lock up DeMar.
Hey, I'm down with all that too. Way more cordial and way more like there's a lot more positives. Kind of comparing the Chicago homecoming to the Brooklyn. But the mindset is the same, which is it's all love. Let's do this, and then when it's time to play, let's play. Like that's what I
I
want.
man, I definitely think there should be a tribute video for DeMar this week. I definitely think that there should be
I, I feel like nowadays it's a little bit more commonplace, right? Like even though it's not that far removed, I feel like it'll happen.
Well, because I mean, like obviously, right? We had our tribute for Patty, our tribute for LA. I'm pretty sure last year we had a tribute for Bryn. In
Probably,
when he
yeah,
came here,
Milwaukee,
I'm
probably.
I'm I'm pretty sure we did have a thing. So, um, I would not be surprised. I would be happy to see a nice
Did Rudy get
Demar
one,
video. Uh, I don't know if Rudy got one. That would actually be a shame if Rudy didn't get one for us.
or has Rudy
Um,
been in San Antonio yet?
oh, have the Jazz because we might have only
We played
played.
him. We played him in
Yeah,
Utah. We played him in Utah twice.
no, we did play them. We did play them at home on the 27th of December.
I have December 27th as. Oh, you're right.
This
Yeah, I
is
was in San
Jazz at
Antonio.
Spurs. So I have to look that up here in a little bit to see if there's a Rudy Gay tribute video.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know why I feel like there was one, but I can't remember.
oh, like our
Oh,
brother
my fault.
Juan.
My fault. Yeah, you
No,
did
you're
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, our brother Juan did say that Rudy got one. So, yeah. Either way, then we know that our I definitely think then DeMar gets his tribute video. I'll probably shed a tear because DeMar has been like, I mean, I have been a DeMar fan like for the longest time. Like
Yeah.
like I don't know. um it's definitely been one of those things for me where I start getting into the NBA around 2015, 2016. And obviously I'm fan of the Spurs, never gonna not be a fan of the Spurs. So that means that like most, if not all, the Western teams are kind of off limits in terms of just being fans of players and like enjoying their games and that kind of stuff. It's like, well, I don't like those teams,
No,
I
it's
don't like
not.
those players.
Don't let these grumpy older brothers get at you.
But it happens. It happens. So that's how it started off for me, at least, which meant it was like, all right, well, let's go look at the East. Let's go see what this young Giannis Antetokounmpo fellow's doing, and see DeMar DeRozan in Toronto. Jimmy Butler in Chicago, all that kind of stuff. Like right there in 2016, man. Those years were golden for me to just be peak fans of those kind of players. So that's
Yeah.
why. Um, when I saw that we traded for DeMar DeRozan, it was like half and half of just like, we did what? We got who? You're
Yeah.
kidding. Like, what? That's like one of my favorite players. But then it was also like, oh, we just traded him for DeMar. Oh my god.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest though, like, and we've talked about this, it ran it into the ground by now, but like, to get a guy like DeMar, like that's a hell of a consolation for losing a guy like Kawhi, you know.
No kidding. And
And
DeMar.
I was like you, like I watched a little bit of DeMar, but I'll be honest, like around that time, I was a little bit like, my extent of him was a little bit like the LeBron meme of like LeBron owns Toronto, and
The
I mean,
LeBronto.
yeah, and like I mean, I remember, like, to this day I remember I was getting Wingstop, right? So I was standing there at the counter waiting for my order. Well, Cavs Cavaliers and Toronto are playing in the second round, maybe, or something like that. And it was a game where it was somebody makes a close shot for Toronto. I get my food and I'm like, well, let me just watch this last play real quick before I leave. And it was that LeBron like running off the glass buzzer
Yeah.
beater. And I was just like, dang, man, like I felt, it's like I don't even have no stakes in this game at all, and I felt bad. Like I was like, dang, it's rough to
Yeah.
be a Toronto fan, or to be a DeMar DeRozan fan, a Kyle Lowry fan, like to have faith in those guys, man. It felt bad. So
No kidding.
same thing, man. When he came over, it was like, it was good. I was glad that we got probably the best return you're gonna get for a Kawhi Leonard. But it was everything that he did after that really like just turned me into a DeMar DeRozan fan. Like I was known about DeMar DeRozan, and he's fine. You see him in the All-Star game, you see him blah blah blah. San Antonio made me a fan to the point where he's in Chicago now. I will root for Chicago. I wanted DeMar
Exactly.
DeRozan Chicago jersey. Like it's that much of like, this guy earned it.
Exactly, man. And I mean, it's always one of those things where you go from one situation and you feel disrespected as a fan base, as a team, whatever. You're like, well, this guy just did us dirty, and we trade for this guy, and this other guy just came in and, all due respect, did everything that he was asked for, and wrote out his contract. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't force us to do anything. Wasn't like, well, you just traded for me, we have to become contenders. It was just, all right, I'll play for you guys.
Yeah,
We'll
or
see what we can do.
like, this is how I'm doing it, so build all this stuff around me. Matter of fact, it
Yeah.
was the opposite. It was kind of like LA, like, let's try to change your game up a little bit. Let's see
And
how we can make you a better
and,
player.
and
And
we did, and sure enough, man, and I'm so glad DeMar loves to give us the appreciation, because we did make DeMar that much better of a player. We did make him become a facilitator, and push him to become more of the guy that sends the ball to open spots and looks for those open spots. Um, it's one of those things where when I watch Lonnie do it now, it's like, you know, to me, it always felt DeMar-esque. It's like that passing ability is always like, it's there. If they just start to read a little bit more, they'll get it. They'll get it down. They'll become better passers. And
Mhm.
DeMar is like the clear example of a guy who is an athletic scorer, got to the basket kind of thing, did whatever he needed to do. And we just added that much more to a passing game, which
Yeah.
just makes the offensive game that much better.
Yeah,
And
it's like you can you see how your abilities create so much opportunity?
not just for yourself, but for
Yeah,
others.
it's like it creates that much opportunity, like where it's everything that you want plus more for others. So yeah, like
Hmm. And
pleasure to see that guy play for us, man. As up and down and bittersweet as anything post the Zaza Pachulia injury has been, those are the bright spots that we'll kind of hang on to as time keeps going. You know what I mean?
exactly. Um,
Speaking of you had asked me to bring up the IRs. Ball's out, Caruso's out. It says Zach LaVine was out. He's out tonight. Obviously, this is a couple days prior, with a knee injury. So just something to monitor. Same thing with Javonte Green, groin injuries, keeping him out for tonight's game. But let me go backwards a little bit. Matter of fact, let me start with Philly since that's tonight's game. So Danny Green is out for today's game against the Spurs with a hip injury. Seth Curry is out for today's game against the Spurs with an ankle injury. And then from the 16th, you had Matisse Thybulle, who was out for, it says, will miss at least a week for the shoulder injury. So that might be somebody who's not playing tonight. And then Shake Milton was out this past Friday. So we'll have to see. We'll see today about that. But no Danny, no Seth, maybe no Thybulle. Like, that's a lot.
yeah, no kidding. That's a lot of their guard play. A lot of defense from Danny Matisse.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something, as well as, we do like to let guards just sit there and have wide open 3-pointers. So no Seth Curry means that's at least 25 that we're not getting chopped on us.
Yeah, or and
Um,
it changes the way you defend Joel Embiid. You know what I mean?
exactly. So this could be a turnaround. This definitely could be a game that we could take advantage of.
Yeah. So
And then
that's Philly. That's Philly. Let me just run down real quick. So
yeah,
Houston's got nobody. Houston just has John Wall out.
right.
So I'm gonna skip past that one. And then Memphis, as of the 22nd, was that yesterday?
Yes, sir.
As of yesterday, Steven Adams it just says day to day. And then Brandon Clark, questionable for Sunday's game against the Mavericks due to back soreness. So again, it's a few days prior, but Brandon Clark will be somebody to keep an eye on. Steven Adams. Tyus Jones was out because of what happened to Tyus Jones?
I'm not too sure, honestly.
On January 19th, it just says out. Doesn't give a reason. Kyle Anderson
Okay.
was in health and safety as of the 18th. So was Desmond Bain as of the 18th. So that was only 4 days ago.
Yeah, the 18th, looking at that's last Tuesday. It would just be over a week for both of those
Yeah.
guys.
But
Um,
that's not taking into account conditioning or whatever they call that. So
yeah,
maybe no Bain, maybe
no Kyle.
no Kyle. So I mean, again, it is the ups and downs of the season, right? It's everything that we said about last week about how we deal with it and how it's happening to everybody. So you can only play who's in front of you. And yeah, it definitely changes how I'm looking at this Memphis game for sure.
Me too. Well, it changes, but at the same time, I don't think we can come out with a win, but I don't know. It's still Memphis. But all right, sure. We have our week ahead of us. Chris just ran down the IR. I'll reiterate one last time that we're playing against Philly on Sunday. Then we go to Houston on Tuesday to come back home to play against Memphis on Wednesday, and then finish out the week playing at home against Chicago on Friday. So, a fun, but like this is a fun week, and obviously we heard the IR. I think these games can go either way on all 3 of the home games. It better not go either way on that Houston game. But Chris, we have a week out ahead of us. What do you think this week's going to be?
I think this might be the week where I'm willing to possibly lose a point, just because I think we will beat. We didn't talk about Houston, but that's a game that, giving Porter his comfortability in the last couple of seconds of the game, I think that we're going to respond well against Houston. Philly, I think, especially with no Danny, with no Seth. Okay, I'm gonna say 3-1 for the week.
3-1 for the week.
I'm gonna say
All
3-1
right,
for the week. I think we are finding a week where, if you look at our IR, it's basically empty. You know what I mean? Like we're not really missing anybody. We're hopefully going to be getting bolstered with Juancho coming in, with Zach coming in. So I'm hoping that this is like a momentum builder. You know what I mean? Kind of week for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris, I'm gonna agree with you on that one, and I'm gonna say 3-1. Our other brothers sent me messages earlier. They're both, Josh and Juan, both said 2-2 on the week. So this is the first week that I have been. I'm going more positive than they are. I definitely think I'll preference it by saying that Juan and Josh probably just looked at the week as a whole, weren't able to get the IR, look at all that kind of stuff, and took the right guess of saying 2-2. If you look at the week with no injuries, Philly, Memphis, Chicago are all three tough games. I could understand them going 2-2 looking at the week, but obviously, Chris, me and you were able to talk this hour and a half, and be able to assess the injury report, assess how our guys are, and get a better understanding about the week as a whole, which is why I think both of us were putting the 3-1 on the week. The Memphis game is the one that separates the 3-1 from the 2-2, because that could be the game that we lose, could be the game that we win. And then I would kind of, honestly, I would just love to see us go 2-1 on the likes of Philly, Chicago, and Memphis, and then make sure that we beat Houston.
See, and I think I'm the same way. So between the Philly, Houston, Philly, Memphis, and Chicago, it's I want to allocate one loss for those three games. It's
exactly
like I have any kind of pull. It's like, all right, you get one loss, right? We got to take care of Houston. I do still, even though Grizzlies might be without Adams, could be without Baines or Kyle. The fact that it's on a second night of a back-to-back, we're traveling from Houston back home, that I don't
take
like.
into account.
I don't like that part of it, and so everything else, though. I mean, again, like, we only have the one back-to-back. We're playing an early game today. We know for sure that they're not having no Danny and no Seth. Whereas the other IRs, it's like they could be back by then. I mean, I
go back and watch the Danny Green tribute video.
Was that like the same night as Kawhi, or what? When is that?
I have no idea when that was, but I have to try to find it. I have to look it up.
I think it would be the same time, right? Because didn't
I mean, they're both in Toronto. They're both in Toronto.
That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure we just saw you had mentioned earlier this episode about people debating Patty Mills making it into the jersey retirement or not, right? And so obviously when that conversation was there, Kawhi's name got thrown in, and so anyways, somebody had shared like the video of them announcing Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard on their first game back to San Antonio, and man, that announcer tried to get through Kawhi's name so fast. He was like something forward, out of where did Danny Green go? North Carolina? Out of North Carolina, so. Danny Green, and it's like, everybody's cheering, and before people are even done cheering for Danny Green, he's like 6'7" forward out of San Diego State, Kawhi Leonard. It was like trying to go real quick. So I don't know. I would imagine the video came that day. It was probably I wonder if they did it the same, like how Patty and LA's was like one video,
right?
I wonder if it was
if it is, I'll definitely just make sure that I watch the one half of the video that's Danny. Honestly, like it's a good thing that I'm not like a part of the San Antonio social media team at the moment or whatever, because I definitely would throw little bits of shade at Kawhi. And then if I ever had to make a tribute video like that, it would definitely be like 2 minutes and 55 seconds of Danny Green and 5 seconds where Kawhi hits a shot, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like the most bittersweet Kawhi moment for me is I don't know why we're talking about this. Is we win the finals, he gets finals MVP, and he's like looking up like this, and he looks like he's trying not to cry, right? Well, everybody like behind him grabs him and starts shaking him like
shaking
that.
him,
Oh
and then
my god,
you see the "Let's go."
that's
from
like
his
that's
stuff,
like that's probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite moment. But it's also like at this point, it does make it a little bit bittersweet. But
yeah, the bittersweet stuff is the 2017 season for me. I mean, watching all of Kawhi just take over the league that year,
yeah,
that was like some of the best basketball I'd ever seen. Considering that I didn't get to watch a lot of after, like I didn't really get to see much from 2014, so but yeah, we have our week out. We just did our predictions right there. To look at the updated scoreboard, Josh lost a point.
jeez.
Because I think all three of us, me, Juan, and Chris went 2-1, and then Josh
He went 3-0.
3-0. Yeah, Josh
Jeez.
went 3-0, so he lost a point. Which still puts me in the lead with my Juan at -2, Chris -4, and Josh at -6. Definitely, we'll be seeing what we can do to work around this scoreboard next season. Because I'm tired of seeing everybody in the negatives. We'll have to.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll figure out a way to keep track and score points and do that whole thing. I definitely want to do a lot more. I mean, you know what I mean? A lot more with that. A lot more with just every part of our show. I think can be expanded. I don't know if you can see. I got like one Lowe's box behind me, but like we're in the process of moving out of one house and moving into another. So once we get into this new house, I'll have a little bit more space and like permanent space in terms of like this is going to be dedicated to the things that we do with the audio and video and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be exciting to kind of see like you said what kind of changes we can make.
For sure. But all right, Chris, do you have any last words on the week or anything like that you want to add?
No. Well, I guess just I'm choosing to think of this as like what kind of opportunities do we have for the week. I would love to see Zach Collins get some kind of playing time. I don't, we don't need to rush him in or whatever, but I would love to see him get some playing time with the Spurs. Juancho too. I mean, he seemed excited to be here. So I want, if any moments we can fit him in, that'll be great. Maybe the Houston game, if we take care of business like we did against OKC, we get a fourth quarter. Who knows? So I'm glad we're healthy. Dejounte Murray, keep doing your thing. It will be glad to see DeMar back at the end of the week. That's about it, man. Let's get some wins.
Exactly. Well, before we end this off, I'll last say that we do this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. We go live to all 4 platforms of Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. All of which you'll be able to see us live during our broadcast. And if you cannot watch us, the VODs will be on all 4 platforms right after. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about Spurs basketball. We do talk about it daily, and we do love the interaction. You can always, do whatever you want to talk about Spurs basketball, and we'll do our part. Just keep us in mind. Keep if you want to talk about Spurs basketball, just know that we're all willing to talk whenever. So, with that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a blessed and wonderful Sunday, and we are out.